What's good, YouTube? What's good, everybody? This is Boxingwave. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit the thumbs up and share the video. Also, hit the bell notification as well, so you'll be alerted whenever I drop new content. I wanted to speak briefly on this Naoya Inoue situation. All right, so basically, we know that he knocked down June Kim last week. Uh, I did a prediction video for it. Didn't really need to, but I was more talking about like just Inoue and what did I wanted to see from him moving forward and stuff like that. And it's really simple to me, just for Inoue being like a generational great. He's already proven to be a generational great and a future Hall of Famer and stuff like that. He's already proven that. He's a two division undisputed champion. And he's only in his early 30s, so he's still got a lot of time to do things. He could move up or he could stay at 122 and fight some of the toughest fights that are there. All right. In the video I did last week, I brought up Sam Goodman, who was supposed to be his opponent. Okay, Sam Goodman, to me, in my eyes, right now, looks like maybe he's the second top 122 pounder that Inoue didn't face yet. Okay, so me personally, I didn't have a problem with the Sam Goodman fight. I do think MJ Akhmadaliev is the number one guy out of fighters he hasn't fought yet. But at the same time, I was never upset with the Sam Goodman fight because I like Sam Goodman. Ever since he beat Rai Salim, I've been paying attention to him. Like, I think he's good. So I really have a problem with it. But people have been saying that MJ or Inoue has been ducking MJ for quite some time now. MJ was also unified at the same time that Fulton was unified at 122. This is prior to Inoue going up to the division and fighting Fulton in his first fight. So when he beat Fulton, MJ was right over there unified around the same time. Now he loses to Marlon Tapales, right? He loses that fight. It was a very close fight. I don't think anyone got robbed. I don't think I seen that fight, and I thought if it was one of those fights, man, that could have just gone either way. It was a really, really close fight. I remember watching the fight. And Marlon Tapales was unified, so it was Inoue. So once Inoue beat Fulton, he got straight into an undisputed fight with Marlon Tapales, which was a very good fight. And honestly, to this day, I would say that is my second favorite Inoue fight. It's my second favorite. The first is obviously the Nonito Donaire fight, the first fight, classic. One of the best fights of the year. And like I've been cool with everything when it came to Inoue since he got at 122 for the most part. Now, what's going on here? He's undisputed. So he's trying to deal with his mandatory obligations, being that he has all four titles at 122. And this is the problem. Like a lot of people, like I seen Eddie Hearn go on a rant about how Inoue should be removed from the undisputed, or just from the pound for pound list and all of this stuff. Eddie Hearn is the promoter of MJ Akhmadaliev, right? And MJ has also been speaking out. He's been tweeting, this guy's been ducking me for a couple years now and all that. Listen, you can pick apart everything from each side, in my opinion. If you're being fair, there's things that you can actually pick apart when it comes to Inoue, when it comes to MJ. MJ did lose to Tapales, and he won his fight against Gonzalez in late 2023, which is the same time that Inoue became undisputed by beating Marlon Tapales, a guy who just beat MJ. So we're in January of 2025. It's only been a year since all of that. So what has happened since then? Well, Inoue has had 3 fights since then. All right. And some of those fights he's been dealing with mandatory obligations. Well, one specifically, and that's Louis Neary, who was a WBC mandatory at that time. When MJ fought and beat Gonzalez, that was a WBA title eliminator at the time. So he beats him. So This is my first issue with all of this. The WBA, they made it their business to make that fight against Gonzalez a title eliminator, which would mean that this guy will be the mandatory for the WBA to fight for the title that Inoue now has in his first fight on a comeback, which is not bad because it was a very close fight. It could have gone either way. I don't have a problem with that. The thing is with the WBA and their rules, the WBA is not like a 12-month thing as far as defending your title against the mandatory. It's more than that. You know what I mean? I believe that it's like 18 months if you're unified, and then it's like 21 months if you're undisputed. So the WBA is the issue for MJ. It's not Inoue. It's not anybody else. It's the WBA. It's the sanctioning body itself, because their rules, based on their rules, Inoue doesn't have to fight him. He doesn't have to fight him because he's not the mandatory. The other mandatories come quicker. For example, Louis Neri, I think maybe last summer, was it last summer or so? He fought Inoue fought Louis Neri, right? Beat him, right? Good fight. He got dropped in the fight, came back, stopped Neri. Cool. Neri was a WBC mandatory, right? For last summer. But now we're in the new year, and guess what? Alan Picasso is already coming up to beat a mandatory already. Now, do I like that? Absolutely not. Because the WBC is already mandating 2 fights before the WBA mandates 1. You know what I mean? That's the problem with the politics of the sport. You got 4 belts, but their rules are different. And we know the history of the WBA and even the WBC. Are they always enforcing their rules? Absolutely not. Their rules are all over the place depending on who's champion. Again, that is not Inoue's fault. This is the only problem I have with Inoue. He didn't necessarily have to fight TJ Doheny. He fought TJ last year, right after, or like right after he fought Louis Neri, right? So he fought TJ. Now, Sam Goodman called him out, stepped in the ring, whatever. Sam Goodman went on to fight a tune-up and injured his hand. So everything with Sam Goodman, who was IBF #1 and WBO #1, everything fell back because Sam Goodman had a tune-up, got injured in that tune-up, so now he's out of the picture. So Inoue goes on to fight the WBO #2 guy, who is TJ Doheny. At the end of the day, TJ was not the mandatory at the time. Inoue chose them. And I think if you're going to make an argument against Inoue, I think this is the only point you can really make an argument. Why? Because he didn't have to fight TJ. He wasn't a mandatory at the time. Nobody was enforcing that fight to happen. I believe, and you guys can kill me in the comments all you want. I don't care. I like Inoue, but I don't think anyone's above criticism. I believe that Inoue fought TJ because it was a safer touch. He had just got dropped in his very last fight. We've never seen him get dropped like that. It was a scary moment. If you were watching it live, we were here live watching it. It was a scary moment. And even though he came back and beat Neri, going straight, and he's had a tough schedule. He's had a really tough schedule since he's gone up to 122. Fighting Fulton, Tapales, Neri, getting dropped. Tapales was tough too. Got to remember that. Like, he beat Tapales, but that was a competitive fight. The most competitive fight, in my opinion, that he's had since Donaire. So I felt like taking an MJ fight right after that, he could have done it, but he didn't. He fought TJ Doheny. You know what I mean? And It was a softer touch. TJ, good fighter, highly ranked, but he's lost all the big ones. You know, he's not a big puncher. We knew that fight was gonna just be a dominant performance. You know what I mean? It was a step down from what he had been facing recently. You know, and that's no disrespect to TJ. He's a good fighter, but it was a step down. And I think part of the reason why it was a step down and they wanted to take that fight is because they had a tough fight recently. So now look, let's fast forward to now. Sam Goodman, they were supposed to fight in December. Supposed to fight in the new year, you know, leading up to New Year, going into this year. Goodman suffered an eye injury. They had to delay it, postpone it. Again, the eye was never gonna get better. Let's be real, y'all. The eye was, do you saw the picture? That fight was never gonna happen. So he fought a replacement, last minute opponent, June Kim, knocks him out easy. All right, because it's just a random fight just to get in there. And now MJ and Eddie and everybody's complaining that MJ is being ducked. I think there's only one time where MJ could have been Inoue's opponent after his loss to Tapales. And I think it's when TJ Doney. And I think that was the only time I was ever disappointed at that opponent, because I was like, nobody wants to see him fight TJ. You know, like, this is not like, you know, what it is right now. And I think that is the only time. I'm not mad at the June Kim opponent, because June Kim was a replacement for you know, a top fighter, which is Sam Goodman, who was number 1 on 2 sanctioned bodies. But going into an Alan Picasso fight, and Alan's not a good fighter. He's a good fighter. He's not bad. But at the end of the day, it's like, okay, now we're fighting someone else again before MJ. This is why people are complaining. And I blame a lot of that on the sanctioned body. A lot of it on the sanctioned bodies. Now he's fighting technically, he's fighting the guys in the order of where they are Mandos for the most part, except for TJ. But with TJ, I believe, and this is my opinion, TJ came because of the tough fight with Neary. It was a safer fight. And I think that's why it happened. It might be more than that. It might have to do more with Riyadh season and all. It might have to do with more of it. But in my opinion, that was the reason why that fight was a softer touch. And that's why that fight went down. So I think politics has played a part in a lot of this. I don't believe that team Inoue is ducking and trying to avoid MJ. I think if MJ was the absolute next in line, like they're saying, he would have fought him already. I don't think a guy with that resume, especially moving up, fighting Fulton on his first fight, I don't think a guy like that is trying to avoid MJ. Not saying MJ is not on that level, because he is. It's just that I don't believe that MJ is good, but I don't believe that that team is trying to avoid him. I think a lot of this is playing out because of the politics. All right? But the fight could have happened. It could have happened. It could have happened. It could have happened already. You know, I think he could have fought MJ without being stripped in any way. He could have fought him in that one period. You know, but I am getting a little frustrated as well as a fan. But a lot of it is because of Sam Goodman. And I personally just wish that once this guy got in the ring, called him out, fought somebody else, got injured, all that stuff happened, it was like, yo, let's move on. Even though he's a Mando, fight him later. You know? But it didn't work out that way. So I wish Sam Goodman, I like Sam Goodman for the fight. I just wish that once he was out of the picture, he stayed out of the picture, at least for some time. That's just my opinion. All right? So I don't think anyone in either party is completely at fault when it comes to this situation. I just blame the politics more than anything. You know what I mean? It's just like, especially with the WBA, I don't know how they do their rules, you know, and the WBC at times too. I just don't know. I don't understand. And they have rules. They're available on Google. You know what I mean? You can look them up on their site. Their rules is all over the place. It's never consistent. You know, it's like even with like 168, like when David Morrell was WBA regular, they made him regular champion for in his like third professional fight. Why would you do that and never mandate him to fight the full champion, who was Canelo? Why would you do that? Why would you do that? It makes no sense. Why make the fight with Gonzalez and MJ a title eliminator if you're never gonna mandate the fight? You know what I mean? Like, what are we doing? It's just ridiculous. All right, so listen, the fight will happen at some point. I do think in 122 that MJ is the best fighter that Inoue hasn't fought yet, and I think that's why a lot of us are screaming for it. Um, but there are other fights there too, and I still think right now in the order, if I could pick 5 fighters, I would probably put in 122 in the order of MJ, Goodman, Picasso, and then Nakatani, and then Bam Rodriguez. I think those are the 5 fights for Inoue if he doesn't move up to 126. Those are those 5 fights. Um, I think I actually think if I have to put it in order and difficulty, well, I will say Bam, MJ, and Nakatani are top 3 most difficult fights for Inoue right now. And then I'll just leave the other 2, Goodman and Picasso. But the top 3 most wanted to see fights. And I think Eddie and MJ is doing a great job because they're definitely building up their fight when it happens by just complaining to the public. It's giving a story now. Like, I'm making a video about it now because it's like, all right, this is not going anywhere. This MJ thing is not going anywhere. They have found someone now to say that Inoue is avoiding. You know what I mean? Before it was Fulton, he wouldn't dare go up to fight Fulton. He did do that. Now we have another player in the game where we can say, like, yo, is this guy ducking him or not? Like, what's going on with this fight? You know? So anyway, let me know what you guys think, and and again, like, it's all about the politics, bro. And if they decided to fight Nakatani over MJ, are you gonna be upset? I know I'm not. If he decided to fight Bam over MJ, are you gonna be upset? I'm not, because I want those fights too. I probably want those fights even a little more, But MJ, I hope he gets a shot. I really do. All right. Let me know what you guys think. If I forgot anything, any information that I didn't bring up, anything part of politics or the order of everything, let me know. Again, I'm doing this. I don't have everything in front of me. I'm just doing it based on what I know. But let me know in the comments, man. I will see you guys. Please hit the thumbs up, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. I'm out.